Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Unqualified Experts with your host, Brandon. And this week's special guest is, of course, Mr. Juan the Day. Welcome back, and today's featured episode is going to be about culture. And to top it off first, we have Brandon here talking about his favorite culture in the world. Let him have it.
Yes, sir. It's funny how you said I'm hosting, even though you're the one just hosted right now.
That's what makes us unqualified, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah. So the handsome road just explained. We're doing culture. So my culture that I'm half Peruvian, half Mexican. So I decided to do my Peruvian side, so kind of introduce you guys into my culture. As you guys can see, I have the Peruvian flag right here. I'll get into a little bit more on like what all these things mean on the flag itself. But yeah, so let's jump right into it. All right, so
Edit that out.
nah, that's saying it. Yeah, so all right, so to begin with, so Peru, found in South America, as many as should know or not know, I don't know. But let me see. To start off, so Peru is the third largest country in South America, following Brazil and Argentina. So the main religion in Peru is heavily Roman Catholic, with evangelical Christianity being the a really small second. It's about, I think when I looked up like the chart and everything, it's about like 80% Roman Catholic, and I think like 20% evangelical, and then like everything else. So yeah, they're like really heavily Catholic, which like a lot of, from what I've seen, like a lot of like Spanish speaking culture or Hispanic cultures, I guess, are just that. I think it's like with the Spaniard influence, right? They brought the Catholicism into all these places. So yeah, so let's see. So the government of Peru. So Peru is a constitutional republic. So they have a president, a Congress, and a Supreme Court. And one of the interesting things that I read was that Peruvians are required to vote by law. So the president themselves, they serve a 5-year term, and they can only be elected twice in a row. So kind of almost similar to the United States, except Peruvians have presidents have a 5-year term. So the state capital of Peru is Lima. That's a really big city. That's actually where my mom is from. She's born in the city of Lima, and I've actually been there. Really nice place. I'll show you guys like a little picture that I have of like the city. It's really nice.
What's the population size?
I saw that when I was researching it, but I was like, nah, they're not going to care about the population size. So I don't know it off the top of my head, but you guys can. I don't know if you guys could see that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that's because of Lima. Yeah, so Lima itself is off the coast, so you can see there. You have the coastline over on the left hand side, and they have a highway running alongside it. The beach is pretty nice. It's a lot of rocks. I don't know if you guys can see it right there, right next to where the waves are hitting. There's like a lot of rocks. So it's not really like in California. I don't know if any of our thousands of viewers have been to like a California beach, but like California beach is like nice and sandy, for the most part. But like in Peru, they have like a lot of like rocks and stuff like there. So it's kind of uncomfortable to be there. But like once you get past all the rocks, you get to like nice sandy beaches, in the water. And then you can see, you have like this kind of like resort looking thing there. So it's kind of like a little epicenter where you can like get food, and like it's like a tourist location. And you can see just like, it's a regular city, like you would see anywhere else. Like I said, I've been there. It's pretty nice. Definitely recommend it. Just just a lot of different things to do.
How much is the price when you flown to Peru? How much is the price that you paid?
So that's
flight ticket and cost.
That's actually pretty expensive. So per person, it's about $1,000, maybe $1,200 per person to fly out to Peru. There's been times when we went where like it was like the off season, so we were able to get the tickets cheaper, so for like $800. But it is kind of expensive to fly out there.
Oh well.
How many
How long
hours
is
is
the flight
usually the
time?
flight? Yeah, I was gonna say that.
How many what?
How long? How many hours is the flight?
Honestly, I don't remember the hours. I know it was like a good a couple hours for sure. I don't remember the exact hours, but it is like definitely it is a flight to get down
What
there.
what you're saying? What you're saying is you want to prepare a couple of whiskey shots, a little bit of Jaeger, a little bit of tequila. Probably load up before the plane takes off. Up a little bit of Xanax.
Yeah, there you go. And just to put that out there, the unqualified experts, we do not condone illegal drinking if you are underage, and we do not recommend mixing pills with alcohol. Just putting that out there.
It's a crazy trip though.
Yeah, it would be a crazy trip, but yeah, just saying we don't condone it. But I mean, like, hey, it'll help cut down that flight time. You'll
Oh yeah.
next thing you know, you're there already. But yeah, so
Hopefully, if not, they kick you off the flight because you said take it beforehand.
no, yeah, true.
That's why
Yeah,
you
so
take it after you board.
They
yeah,
just
so
drop you off the plane.
yeah, so the next thing is money. So in Peru, the bills themselves, they're called soles. So those are, like I said, those are actual bills, and then you have like the actual coins, which are called centimos. So 100 centimos make one sol. So as you see here, we have a, a 10. Oh shit, my bad. We have a we have 10 soles, the bill, and then we have like the centimos right there. So it's pretty similar to dollars and coins, cents in America. We have just like different ones. You can see we also have like dollar coins, kind of like same thing like United States. You can see now it's that top coin. It says un nuevo sol. So that'll be one sol. So pretty much like $1 if you were to compare it to American bills. And you have all the
What
other
is the
change.
currency exchange on that?
That I'm not really sure because, as you know, like it changes all the time. But the dollar is stronger than the sol, that's for sure. So if you do have a good amount of dollars, you'll definitely get way more soles. So the dollar is stronger. Um,
So I'm looking it up right now. It says that one sol equals 29 cents.
I stand corrected then. Wait, so how much? Wait, you said one sol is 29 cents.
29
Yeah,
cents
Oh, okay, yeah. So the
times
dollar the
equals.
dollar is stronger. So how much is $1 for how much is $1 translated into a sol?
3.5.
Wow. Yeah. $1 is three point. Yeah. 3
Okay.
soles.
Well, I mean, it's also because I
Well,
think
close to
the
three.
value of it went down recently.
Yeah, well, I mean, either way, like like all the times that I've been there, like the dollar has always been stronger than the sol. So, I mean, for right now, as of what is it, June 19th, 2020, you have a 300%, stronger rate for from dollar to a sol. Yeah. So going on to the flag. So let's see. I'm gonna share this screen real quick. Bear with me. I should have just kept it sharing. I don't know why I took it off. All right. So as you can see, this is the flag of Peru. Or if you want to look behind me, I have an example, a real live example there. So the flag has the coat of arms with the vicuna, which is the national animal. It's related to the alpaca and the llama, but the vicuna, its fur itself, it's like really prized, like really fine, like really good fiber. So back in like the indigenous people time, like only like royalty would wear vicuna uh, clothing, and it was like it was known as like this high prize uh, what's called fur. Even though even the royalty would only use it like rarely. That's how prized that fur was. And so nowadays, what's called the because when the Spaniards came over to Peru, they kind of instead of just how the Peruvians did it, where they would shear the fur and then release the animal so that they can keep repopulating everything. When the Spaniards came over, they they saw the value of the fur, but instead of just like shearing them and letting them go, they hunted them down, and so that greatly reduced the vicuna's population and almost brought them to extinction. So luckily, uh, what's called in Peru, they were able to revive the vacuna's population. So now they're healthy population, and like they're thriving right now. And their fur is still used along with the llama and the alpaca fur. So you see, like when you go when I've been over there, you go to like the shops and stuff like that. They have different furs. So like vacuna, which is still like really expensive. Like if you were to get a blanket or like some type of clothing with it, it's still expensive. But you also have alpaca and llama fur over there that's used, and it's really warm. Like it does have the smell to it. I don't know if maybe it's just not as manufactured as well as like as I would expect in America. But I did buy a blanket out there, and you can still smell like the animal smell on it. So I thought it was pretty cool. Like it gave it that authentic feeling, and like it's really warm. It's kind of like it's kind of like harsh too on your skin, but like when you like if you were to put like a thin sheet over you and then that on top of you, you'd be warm. Um, I think you
So
guys go ahead.
so is this like our like the Mexican tiger blankets that
Yeah, so
Every Mexican wears?
yeah, so I was
I
about to say
thought
that, like, yeah, like it's just similar like the tiger blankets that in Mexico they have, like where it's like really warm. But the thing with the Mexican tiger blankets, like those are like they're really soft, and like they keep you nice and warm.
Yeah.
But with those like alpaca or llama fur, it's a lot harsher. But again, it does keep you warm, and like it's just different just because like the Mexican tiger ones, those are like manufactured to the point where like it doesn't they took out the smell and everything from whatever they manufactured it from. But this one is from an animal, and like that smell's still on there. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like it's something that like it gives it like that authentic feeling. It's something different. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, so on the right of the crest, you'll see the national tree, which is the cinchona tree. Uh, so that's the national tree. It's used for. It has multiple uses. So it was used in the production of the anti-malaria medicine, uh, also known as quinine. It used to be to treat fever and pain in the pre-colonial peoples. It's also used in the production of tonic water and Angostu, uh, angostura bitter, which is an alcohol beverage used in Peru's national cocktail, also known as pisco sour. And
we
at the
got to get
bottom,
that percentage on that list.
yeah, yeah, and at the bottom of the crest, you'll see the cornucopia, spilling coins, which represents the nation's mineral wealth. So Peru is actually really rich in minerals, so like zinc, iron, and like etc. So they have a lot of those minerals, and that's why they put that crest on there. So like that cornucopia is seen, you've seen that in multiple places, like in Thanksgiving, that's one of the, when you see Thanksgiving pictures, you'll see is a cornucopia there, which is just, that cornucopia just represents like, just a wealth in something. Yeah. And then, you also see the red and the white, right there. So there was different things when I was researching what that meant. One of the biggest thing was just to represent, the Incan culture, which is, the indigenous people that lived in Peru, and that those are the most popular indigenous people that you hear around, mostly because like Machu Picchu, which is one of the seventh wonder of the world in Peru, and I'll get into that a little bit more later on. All right, so continuing on. All right, so let's see. So like I said, Peru is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of natural resources. So gold, silver, copper, zinc, lead, and iron are found all across the country. And Peru also has reserves of oil and natural gas. So even though like they are rich in like these natural resources, jobs in Peru can be very hard to find. And Peru remains one of the world's poorest countries. So I don't really look too much into like why that is. I would assume just like a lot of exportation, exporting that out. Um,
Yeah.
so that's what I would say. That's the reason why. But again, I didn't really like look too much into that. So the official languages of Peru. So there's two official languages in Peru. So one of them is Spanish. So like, you guys are Mexican, so you understand Spanish. So if you like me, like I grew up learning Mexican Spanish from my dad, because like I my dad's parents are or family is here in America, so I was with them more, so I picked up their Mexican Spanish, their dialect. But in Peru, just like in other Spanish speaking countries, you're gonna have like differences in languages. Different words that mean different things. And I actually have a video that kind of gives you an example of just like certain words that Peruvians have that that doesn't translate to like Mexican Spanish or any other Spanish. All right, so in this video, just so I can preface it a little bit. So in this video, on the guy on the left, he's a Peruvian Spanish speaker. He moved over to Colombia. He married a Colombian woman, and the interviewer on his right, which is a woman, she's Colombian, and so she'll actually, like, they're gonna go over they're gonna go over 10 words, but I'm only gonna cut the video down just to 5 words just for time's sake. And so when he says a word, she's gonna say actually like, oh, this is how we say it in Colombian. So you kind of get the differentiation from Peruvian Spanish and Colombian Spanish. So I thought that was pretty cool. So a lot of people that are watching, if you don't speak Spanish, just understand just different words. And I would relate that to kind of like, even in America, we have that same thing. So if you go to the South, they have their own terms for something that you wouldn't use it like necessarily, like, let's say California or New York or something like that. Just different regions have like different words. So like one example I could use, it would be like for soda. So like in California or New York, they would say soda, and if you go like more mid US, they say pop. So it's kind of similar. It's just like
And
they
then you
mean
go, to other states like Florida or like South Carolina, and they'll say a soda pop.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's the same. It's the same thing in Spanish speaking cultures. Like you'll have like two different words that like mean the same thing, but it's just they're different words. So let me bring up this video real quick. Now you guys can hear that, right?
No, I can't.
No.
You can't? Oh shit. Whoops.
Okay, it says batería. I'm guessing battery.
That's funny because she's gonna say the same thing. I think I messed that up. I know where I messed up. All right. Hold on. Yeah.
Vamos a empezar.
Bueno, Andrea, con la primera palabra, ¿tú sabes lo que significa batería o para ti qué es batería?
Batería. ¿Ustedes qué piensan? Batería es lo que tú pones en un celular, en un computador para que cargue, o la batería de la música.
También puede ser, ¿no? Pero en Perú batería significa amigo, ¿no?
Amigo.
Sí, amigo. Y la palabra amigo también tiene otros derivados, ¿no? Puede decir mi piedra, mi brother, mi mano, mi pata.
Mi piedra, mi brother, ¿cuál era la otra?
Mi mano.
Mi mano, como mi mano.
Como mi mano, sí.
O sea, uno le dice a la persona, tú eres mi mano.
No, mi mano, lo presenta mi mano, ¿no?
Le presento a mi mano Edwin.
Sí, es exactamente así.
Mi mano, ¿y cuál era la otra?
La segunda palabra es, ¿tú sabes lo que significa péchame?
Palabra número 2, péchame. Péchame. No sé, péchame, abrázame.
No, la palabra péchame es invítame, ¿no? O sea, cuando uno no tiene plata, digamos, está sin dinero, le dice a la otra persona péchame, ¿no?
Como yo estoy con unos amigos y no tengo dinero para comprar, no sé, una empanada, ¿no voy a decir péchame?
Péchame, sí.
Como paga por mí.
Sí, paga por mí.
En Colombia decimos gástame.
Gástame.
Yo creo que usted la ha escuchado, ¿no?
Sí, gástame.
Gástame, como paga por mí. Sí. Péchame en Perú. Ok, interesante.
Bueno, la tercera palabra para ti, ¿qué es pulpo?
Pulpo. Número 3, pulpo. Pulpo, el animal, un pulpo.
Sí, bueno, para nosotros los peruanos es alguien sociable, alguien que es cariñoso, alguien que está en contacto con todos y no tiene miedo de hablar, ¿no?
O sea, es una característica de una persona.
Sí,
yo, por ejemplo, diría que Juan es pulpo.
Sí, puede ser. Yo soy una persona muy cariñosa, muy efusiva. Sí.
Entonces ya saben, ¿no? En Perú, si alguien es cariñoso, sociable, es pulpo. Muy interesante.
Bueno, la cuarta palabra es para ti.
I'm just gonna end it there. I mean, if you guys want to watch the full video, it's on YouTube, called Spanish Slang Expression from Peru. Speak Spanish like a native, and the YouTube channel itself is it's by Spanish Land School on YouTube.
You know what's crazy? Never heard of mi mano before. Being like my friend. Like, this is my friend.
Mi hermano?
Mi mano. It sounds like, if you say it fast, mi mano, sounds like, I thought he said my brother,
Man.
mi hermano.
Hermano.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait,
when he first said mi mano, because he said mi mano as in like my hand, mi mano.
Yeah.
But it sounded like he said mi hermano, which is like my brother. But when he says it, mi mano means like my friend.
Yeah, so it's like the video. It's a slang, you know. That's pretty much what most people talk. Nobody really talks proper, but like, yeah, it's shortened from hermano. But instead of saying hermano, they say mano, and you know,
I see.
You know, just like with same thing in the United States, you say like, oh, that's my brother, but like, you know, we're just friends. We're not related by blood. Yeah, so it's just the slang of it is just mano. You know, that's how they say it. Yeah, so like, I mean, you guys notice the difference, just like Peruvian and like even the female when she was talking, like I said, she was Colombian, so she was giving her interpretation of like how she would perceive that word as a Colombian, and so as you know, all three of us being like Mexican, like learning of like Mexican Spanish, you guys had an idea of like, oh, what that could be, and like it was just interesting seeing like the differences, you know, and like understanding how like their slang is different from our slang, and that's just because of like culture and like, you know, being from different regions that kind of made Spanish evolve, you know, into what it is now. So yeah, so like I said, so Spanish, that's the official language, and then the second official language is Quechua, and Quechua is it's actual indigenous people language. So it's a language, but it's also a people. So I have another video showing an example of Quechua, so you guys can kind of hear how it sounds like. Yeah, and so in this video, so they have Spanish subtitles. So like for those who don't speak Spanish, I apologize, but yeah, so they have the Spanish subtitles, and they have the person saying it's a newscast, and they're doing the news in speaking Quechua. And at the beginning of the video, it kind of gives you an example of like the indigenous people clothing. So, like I said, like I said before, one of the most popular is the Incas. So the Incas wore this clothes, but not only them, but also like other indigenous people wore the similar clothing. So a lot of the clothing is pretty similar, much like you'll see like in the United States, Native Americans have similar like, you know, stuff that they wear, but of course like just there's distinctions because of, you know, culture and like, you know, the stuff they have in the environment. But you know, this will give you like a good idea of like how they dress and stuff like that. Another thing that's at the beginning of the video you'll see is like you'll hear like the music that they're playing, which is also like indigenous people music. All right, you guys can see that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you guys can hear it?
Yep.
All right. So to see, like, you know, you see people in the clothing, hear the music. So a lot of the clothing that they're wearing is like Like it'll either be a vicuna fur or alpaca or llama fur that they made, and then it dyed
Alguien
using
puncho
certain things. And right
Mexico
now you're gonna hear
Ayayalamanta
speaking
Kunaka,
Quechua with
Rikusunchis
the
Aikichis,
Spanish subtitles.
Huillakunacasta Kai, Hatun Bolillamanta Kai, Ainitaka Evo Morales. Chayacaimanta Evo Morales, Gobierno Manchay, Movimientos Sociales y Pueblos Indígenas Tawan, Caipawan, Sayakunku. Runankajina, Nimaika, Rikukunchu, Sumas Causaita, Aviala, Yachtamanta, Chayachtin Evo Morales presidenciaman, Ñauparuma, Camparuma, Checapasca Carca, Huachacha Carca, Cuyay Carca, Evo Morales, Chayamuña, Pachacmama, Huavasninti, Runas Yachin, Yatirich.
That'll give you guys give you a little taste of it. So if you guys do want to see like that full video, it's titled Noticiero en Quechua, Evo Morales y sus proyectos
So just
para Bolivia, and it's by the Telesur TV on YouTube. So yeah, I posted that.
So do you know some of that Quechua language?
No, I don't, but my mom's grandpa, who's still alive, does. So like one of the times when I went to go visit Peru, we went to go visit like that side of her family, and her I don't know if it's her grandpa or great grandpa. I want to say grandpa, but yeah. So he was bedridden, so he couldn't really move around. So he was pretty old, but like yeah. So my mom knows a little bit like to like a few words here and there. So she was talking to him little by little. But yeah, so it was pretty cool, like just like hearing her speak, because I've never heard her speak Quechua until like that time, and it was just interesting, like hearing her talk, and like hearing my I guess that would be my great grandpa, speaking back to her, and like like I say, he's pretty old, because my mom's grandpa, you can only imagine. I think he was like 90 or something at that point. Yeah, so yeah, he was pretty old. So I don't know if any of you guys have like people in your lives that are like that old, but at that age, they're pretty frail and stuff like that. Like just skin is saggy, like pretty skinny and stuff like that. But it was just interesting, just like just being able to hear it, like in person. And as you guys heard, it's like different. There are some words that sound kind of like Spanish, but it's way different.
Yeah, I was trying to like listen into what she was saying, but there was like one or two, three words that would come out in Spanish that I would pick up on, and the rest would just go completely like, oh shoot, like I never heard this before. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So all right. So moving on. So like I was talking about indigenous people. So there's actually so many indigenous people. I mean, I keep referring back to the United States, but it's a good great way for you guys to picture it. So just like in the United States, you have like Native Americans. You have like a whole bunch of different types of Native Americans, different tribes and stuff like that. Same thing in Peru. There's different ones, but I'm only going to touch on two, and so I'm going to touch on three. Two of them that are still around, like they still have their tribes and like still have their traditions and everything. And then I'm gonna talk on the extinct popular one, which I mean I mentioned that before. So the first one is Quechua. So just like I said, not only is Quechua a dialect, but it's also a group of people, the indigenous people. Let's see. Dang, I don't think I put that in here. Never mind. So I'll restart again. Okay, so there's two types of people: the Quechua and the Aymara. I don't know. It's Aymara. I don't really know how to pronounce it. Like I tried looking it up, but it's like they have different ways to pronounce it. And then so those are the two indigenous people that are still around. You can still find them. Like I said, there's many other ones too, but those are like the two top popular ones. And then like of course you have the Incas, which are like the most popular, like well known, like people have heard like Incas in some way, shape, or form, mostly because of Machu Picchu, which is one of the 7 wonders in the world, like I mentioned earlier. But like I said,
have you been there before?
Yeah, I have actually. And yeah, so later on, I'm gonna like go into a little bit more about Machu Picchu. But yeah, I've been there. It's really nice. Like it's pretty cool that they have like tours and stuff like that, and like what's called definitely recommend going there. It's like it's pretty cool seeing just the sights and everything. Like, of course, getting the picture for it, but just like seeing like all this stuff and like hearing the tour guides talk about like what they believe, what the what's called archaeologists and stuff like that believe, what each building was used for and stuff like that. It's just like really interesting, and especially just like the whole history of like how it came to be. But like I said, so Incas, like I mentioned before, is an extinct popular indigenous people, and they were actually wiped out by the Spaniards. So a lot of Spanish speaking countries, and I mean other countries too, just know like something about the Spaniards. Every Spanish speaking culture has some Spaniards in them, just because the Spaniards took over a lot of places and did what they did. So let's see. So actually, the world's largest rainforest, which is the Amazon, covers nearly half of Peru. So
dang.
Yeah, it's called the selva in Spanish, which is a huge jungle. Which also not only covers half of Peru, it also covers half of Brazil. So, and it's home to plants and animals that do not live anywhere else on the earth. And sometimes scientists even think there may be Indian tribes or like native tribes there that have never seen the outside world. So I don't know if you guys have like seen like the National Geographic or like the History Channel where like they talk about like certain groups that like are still isolated from the world and like they've never come in contact with like advanced technology. And so like a lot of those places are like centered around the Amazon. So it's just like really interesting to think about like how big the Amazon is and stuff like that. And so
is it because it's so dense that they haven't been able to like the modern world be able to penetrate the forest and see if there's any people that still live there or what?
So it's a multiple thing. So one of the things is like the density of it, but it's also like the Amazon is just so big. It's kind of like it's nothing close to like what I'm about to say, but it's kind of similar where like the ocean, and we haven't discovered the whole ocean. The ocean is so massive and so deep. We haven't discovered everything there. So the Amazon's kind of similar in the fact that like it's so big. Like there's so much parts of the Amazon you can't really like get to because of like there's different obstacles in the way that it's really hard to get there. Another thing too is like the natives there are kind of like both like harsh or offensive pretty much. So like if people do come in contact, like they attack them immediately. So like so it's like that's one of the biggest reasons why they haven't seen the outside world. It's really hard to get there. Like I said, like when you're traveling that far, you can't really carry like stuff that's gonna protect you because like you need stuff to like survive just to get the trip there. So it's like it's really interesting to think about like the tribes that have never seen the outside world, like all this technology we have. Continuing on, in Peru, the second highest mountain range in the world runs through Peru. So these peaks, they're called the Andes, and they're so tall and foreboding that the ancient Inca people thought they were gods because they were able to like climb, like they were able to build and live and thrive on top of these peaks. So the Andes runs from north to south of Peru, and you can actually see the Andes mountains from the Peru beaches. So like if you were in Lima, one of the beaches, you could see the mountains. That's how like tall they are. Oh, wow. And just for comparison, so the highest peak in the world is Mount Everest, right? Everest? Yeah, Mount Everest is about 29 feet tall. Well, the highest peak in the Andes is called Mount Huascarán, and it's 22,200 feet. So it's only 7,000 feet shy from Mount Everest. So you can imagine like how massive this mountain is. And so that's why like the Incas thought they were gods because they were able to conquer these mountains and like build stuff on top of them. And one of the examples like that I keep coming to is Machu Picchu. And I'll get a little bit more into it, but like it's a crazy feat that they were able to do it, especially since like with our advanced technology now, like it's crazy to think like people back then were able to do these things without the technology we have now. So now I'm gonna go into like the fun part that we all like, the food of Peru. So just like every other culture, like there's so much different recipes that are that are specific to the region. But I'm gonna go with my two favorite dishes. So one of them, what's called, it's gonna be. I want to say this is my top favorite because it's also my favorite in in Mexican culture, and you guys should know the name. It's called ceviche, the Peruvian ceviche.
I think you say pupusas for some reason. I was like, wait a minute, that's Salvadorian.
Yeah. So Peruvian ceviche. So it's actually thought that Peru is actually the origin, like where Mexican and other South American ceviche came from, and the way it was spread to other cultures was from the Spaniards. So when the Spaniards invaded Peru, that there was a ceviche before, like what we know ceviche now in Peru, and they used to use different types of like ingredients like that, and Spaniards brought over some of like different ingredients that kind of added on to the ceviches that we know now. And then once that came to be, then like it's thought that the Spaniards spread that to other cultures, and mostly because like ceviche, it's like you have like some type of seafood in there, and also vegetables and stuff like that, and like I said, like Lima and all that, like a lot of like indigenous people, they used to live by the coastline and stuff like that. So like fish and seafood in general were like plentiful and stuff like that. And they used that a lot in their dishes. So Peruvian ceviche. So I'll show you guys a picture in a bit. Let's see if I can do that right now.
So I'm kind of curious. I wonder if there's like a lot of like land foods like that we know from Mexico that kind of maybe originated from Peru.
Yeah, and like it's like when I started like researching for this, it was interesting because I thought the same thing. Like what like foods were originated somewhere else and came to Peru, and like or just in general, overall. Because that seems to be a trend, like where like whoever conquered, whether it be Spaniards or even like the English, in other places, when they conquer a place, they kind of like take stuff from like that culture and like they
spread it.
And they spread it like they, because they're like, oh, this is good, like we're gonna take this and like keep eating it because it's different and it tastes good. And then once they go conquer other places, they kind of like introduce that to the different cultures. So this is the Peruvian ceviche right here. So, as you see, it's very, I don't know if like, the viewers, if they've seen Mexican ceviche, that's what I like been raised. I was raised on Mexican ceviche, and then like I kind of like learned Peruvian ceviche later on, but it's still really good. Like it's still, it still has the lime. The lime still cooks the seafood that you use for it. And Peruvian ceviche has onions, fresh fish cooked in leche de tigre juice, which is lime juice, ginger, celery, pepper, cilantro, salt, pepper, cooked corn, and so salt and pepper, and like you blend that, and that's how you make that juice. That's the leche de tigre juice, and that's what you use to cook the fish. So, and if you guys are for our viewers out there, if they're not familiar with Mexican ceviche, the way you make it, that I've known anyways, I know there's different ways, but the way I learned it is just like you have shrimp for shrimp ceviche, or even if you have like crab meat or something, you would cook that fish in lime, and so you would put it in there, and like it'll cook that seafood and give it a special flavor. So similar, same thing with Peruvian ceviche. So the type of fish you use, they uses the leche de tigre, and like it cooks it. So you're not like cooking in the stove or anything. It's cooked with this with the lime juice. So as you see it, so on the plate itself, you also have the cooked corn, the sweet potato, and special so you can see like the little small corn like thing, and it's a type of dried corn called cancha. It's also known as toasted dried corn dulce. And so it's all like really good. And then of course they're on top of lettuce. You can see like the green over there. That's lettuce. And so it's like really good. It's definitely different than the Mexican ceviche, but still really good. So that's one of my favorite ones. And just mixing it together. And also the cancha is it's salted. So like you have that extra salt on there. So when you mix it with that the leche de tigre juice, it's just really good. Like I definitely recommend it. So I've had this in Peru. I've had it in Peruvian restaurants here in the States, and it's really good. Definitely recommend it. Actually, like back in California, because right now I'm in Texas, but in California when I used to live there was this place in Orange County where we would always go to, and it's a Peruvian restaurant that it's authentic. The owner is Peruvian. He came from Peru, and like he started up his business, and like it's definitely one of the best Peruvian food I had. One, because like it's authentic, it tastes just like if you were in Peru, but also because they give you large portions. So other Peruvian restaurants that I've been to, like they just give you like the regular restaurant portions and stuff like that, and it's just like it's something about like them giving you more just makes it even better, because it's so good. You just want to keep eating. So it's like if someone gives you large portions, it's like heck yeah, you gain a little bit more respect in my eyes. So yeah, so moving on to my second most favorite dish. And again, all these dishes I first tried because my mom made it. My mom came from Peru when she was about 17. So a lot of her adolescent life, she grew up in Peru. So she knows a lot of the culture. She knows how to cook the dishes and all the recipes and everything. So all the food that I've had that she's made is like they're definitely authentic. When I went to Peru, it tasted exactly the same. And so my second favorite dish is called lomo saltado. And oh shit, that's not where I wanted to go.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. So
hey, I want you to know I'm starting to get hungry just watching this, man. I haven't eaten, so that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, man. So this is like I said, this is my second favorite dish for a reason. So it's like I said, it's called lomo saltado. So it has cooked sliced beef with scallions and a side of just regular rice and French fries. So it's like so it's just like this mixture of the way they mix it and everything. Like they just complement each other perfectly. So you have the juices from the steak going into the rice because the rice picks up that flavor. Same thing with the fries, salted fries, and it all mixes so perfectly. It's just, man, I'm just salivating just thinking about it. So yeah, man. So like my mom, like every time my mom would ask, like, "Hey, what do you want me to cook you?" Like I would either say ceviche or like lomo saltado. And of course, there's other like favorite dishes that I have from Peru. These are definitely the top two. It could also be the American in me because of you have the fries, and who doesn't like some home cooked fries? Friggin' amazing. Yeah. So now moving on to the main event. The most popular tourist spot in Peru, Machu Picchu. So like I said before, Machu Picchu was created by the Incas, an indigenous culture that was wiped out by the Spaniards. But so I'm gonna show you guys. I mean, you guys already saw the picture because it kind of like jumped the gun on there when I was trying to show you guys the food. But so this is Machu Picchu right here, and you have a picture of a llama. In the picture, so the llamas there are actually you could see llamas depending on the time the time that you go to Machu Picchu. You're able to see just llamas just like roaming around. They're indigenous. They're indigenous, I guess. They're from there. Like they live in the mountains. Same thing with alpacas and the vicuña. So you'll see them like running around or like just chilling. And sadly, when I went to Machu Picchu, I didn't see any. I was hoping to see one just so I can like take a picture with it, stuff like that. But I didn't get to see one. But yeah, so if you were to Google it, you'll see like a lot of people with pictures with like, you know, the llamas or even an alpaca that they found there. And it's when you look up alpaca and a llama side by side, like you can kind of tell the difference. But like if you were to see it face to face, like they look really similar.
So I gotta ask: is Machu Picchu at the top of the mountain then?
It is, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, like, if they lived up on the top of the mountain, what do you think was their source of food? Like, was it birds or something, or the llamas?
I'm glad you asked, Juan. so as you guys can see my cursor, right, or no?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So as you see right here, you kind of have like these step like looking things over here, and so that's actually where they grew their crops. So they had like I forgot what exactly the method is called, but it's like a step system, and like that helps the water like go from like flow from top to bottom, and so that's where they grew their crops, and it was actually a pretty smart like technique. You know, like I keep mentioning, you know, like for us nowadays, you know, it's like for thinking back to like the indigenous people, which you would think they weren't as smart, you know, because they didn't have the technology we have. It's you know, it's surprising. But it's just like, you know, indigenous people just throughout the whole world, they had a lot of advanced technologies. So like that's one of their the way that they produce crops, and so they would grow their food there, and like it'll be plentiful because they have the perfect water flow, and like they had like nice fertile ground, and they had their own like what's it called, their own techniques for growing stuff, so that they were also just like we do nowadays, where they alternate different food groups so they can give nutrients to the ground, and so for the next harvest, it's not just like, you know, dried up and stuff like that. Like they were smart enough to know to like, oh, okay, so if I plant this certain thing, you know, it's going to give nutrients, so I can plant this next thing, and it'll be able to grab the nutrients, and like the next thing that I planted is going to give nutrients for this next thing that I'm doing, and so they had this cycle of plants that would grow there, and like it'll just keep for the whole year. It'll keep the ground fertile for you know, producing different things. So now that you mentioned it too, Peru actually has over 3,800 types of potatoes, and
wow,
yeah,
so much for Idaho being known as the capital of the U.S. for potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what I thought was like really fascinating, because I had learned this a while back, but just like looking more into it, so it's thought that historians believe that the variety of potatoes were created during the Inca period up in those mountains, and so I mean, you know, you guys have been through like, you know, biology and stuff like that. You know, when you mix like two different types of things, you know, you're able to create a new thing, right? So that's what the Incas did up there in the mountains. They would mix different types of potatoes, and like it'll create a new potato. And like they were able to do this to create 3,800 types of potatoes. So I thought that was like super interesting. And I don't know, from what I was researching, I mean, I think you guys might know, like the potato itself, it's like really nutritious, you know, thing. It has a lot of nutrients in it, a lot of carbs and stuff like that. And so you'll see this in cultures everywhere that have like some sort of potato. And so it was just fascinating to me to it's hard to think like, dang, that's a lot, like 3,800 different types of potatoes, you know, like they're genetically different from each other. So it was pretty cool to see like how they were able to like just create all these different types of potatoes. And so going back to Machu Picchu itself, it's so like I said, it's up in the Andes Mountains. It's in the crate, and it was actually famous because it was a mysterious ancient city. And it was known as a mysterious ancient city because the Spaniards didn't know about it for like a lot of the times when they colonized Peru. It actually remained unknown to the outside world until like American historian Hiram Bingham brought it to the international attention in 1911. So can you imagine, like, you know, just like the Spaniards, like, you know, they conquered like Peru and everything, you know, and other cultures, but they couldn't find Machu Picchu. it was just like so up there. Like I said, like how it was like what did I say, 22,000 feet. That's the tallest peak. So you can only imagine like how big these mountains are. So like they weren't able to make the trek up there to discover Machu Picchu. And it wasn't until just recently, 1911, that's not too long ago. If you think about it in the history of things, like that's when they barely discovered Machu Picchu.
So then, because it's so high up there, how do people like now that take the tours? How do they get up there? Do they have to hike the entire mountain to get to that location, or is there like a road now that they've built? Or
so before, so nowadays it's a lot easier to get up there. But before, like, yeah, you have to just hike it. You just hike all the way up there, and like, from what I've seen, it's definitely a hike, definitely a week or more hike. So it's and of course you're going through rough terrain and stuff like that. So they still have the hiking that you can still hike. Like you can get a tour, and a tourist guide will actually like you can backpack all the way up there and just walk it. When I looked it up, it was like a week and a half, I think, or a week long hike, depending. And there's different paths you can go to too to get up there. So but the main way now it's so you take a train. So at the base of the Andes Mountains is the capital of what used to be the capital is Cusco, and it's still a major city today. And it's from there you take a train. So this is what I did. So I went to Cusco and took so for one, Lima, you have to take a plane over to Cusco, and so once you land in Cusco, you go into the city, and then you take a train. It's a couple hours train ride, and then once you get off the train, you get on the bus. And the bus takes you up like this windy path all the way up to Machu Picchu. And then and then even then the bus doesn't take you all the way directly to like what you see in the picture. It actually you have to, once you get off the bus, and you have to hike a little bit up. It's not too bad. I want to say like it's a 10-minute hike from there, but yeah, so that's how it is now. But before, like my grandma was telling me how, like, because she's been to Machu Picchu in her younger years, and she said like, yeah, back then they didn't have the bus. They had the train, but even in the train back then, it didn't take you all the way. So like once the train dropped you off like close to the base of the mountain, you'd have to, like a little bit closer up to the mountain, you had to like hike all the way up there. So she walked. She was telling me how she had to walk all the way up there. So it's like it's a lot different now. Now that we have like the trails, they built trails and like bridges to get over like rivers and stuff like that. So it's a lot easier now. But she told me like, yeah, she made that trek, and so it was just crazy to see. And then the train ride actually into like when you're heading over to Machu Picchu, like it's really nice. Like you see like a lot of like grassland. You see like different views. You even see people, like I saw a lot of people hiking, backpacking. I mean. You see them like taking the trail and stuff like that, like because the trail does go over like the train rails. So a lot of the trails go over that. So you see like signs and stuff like that. That's kind of like our markers, so you don't get lost. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So like when I was looking up the different like packages like to get to Machu Picchu, like I said, one of them is backpacking, or one of them is you could just take the train to the base of the mountain, and then from there you can just hike up. If you want to do that, you don't have to hike the whole way from Cusco all the way to Machu Picchu. You can cut it in half. So there's different ways to get there. And then even once you get to Machu Picchu itself, like there's actually like different hiking trails you can take from there to get to like different places. And so yeah, there's like so many different things. And it was just crazy just thinking about like for us to get there, we're taking a train and a bus and all that, but like the Incas themselves, they didn't have all that. So it's like, just imagine like bringing all these stones that you can see right here. Like right now, what you see in the picture, I'll share it again. From what you can see in the picture, it's like, this is all like after it's been eroded away from history. And actually, it was actually less than this. So like there was actually a restoration period where like they kind of restored a lot of Machu Picchu, so you can build up a little bit more, so you can kind of have an idea how like the buildings were. But like they used to be like these really like big structures and all that. So you can only imagine like how much rocks and all that stuff, like heavy rocks too, that they had to bring all the way up there. Because all the rocks that are there in Machu Picchu, historians are saying that they're not native to the mountains themselves, like they were brought from somewhere else. So yeah, so like another thing too, I don't know if you guys you've probably seen like Ancient Aliens on History Channel, stuff like that. One of the things they talk about is Machu Picchu, because a lot of the rocks themselves, like they were cut so perfectly, like they fit so good together. It's just like it's like they can't figure out how the indigenous people did it. You know, it's just like, because especially like when you look at like the technology we have right now, like from what I was researching, we can barely do that. You know, like, but to get like how perfect they have it, it's like, you know, it's just like unknown how they did it without the technology that we have now. And it's crazy too, because like where the Andes Mountains are, they're kind of like on a fault line, so they do experience earthquakes. But because these rocks were so perfectly put together, when there is an earthquake, like they kind of come apart. They come apart, but like because they're so perfectly together, they come right back to where they were after the earthquake.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that's why like that it's thought like there's a lot of theories out there, like maybe aliens like came and helped, you know, give technology or something to the Incas to help bring up these rocks, or even you know, just help build it or whatever. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because I'm looking at a picture right now, and it seems like it has like really nice and precise cuts. It's like, wow, that's actually pretty impressive for that time and age, you know.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why it's still a mystery to how they brought it up there. I mean, there's theories and stuff like that, just kind of like the ancient pyramids. Like there's theories on how, you know, they brought the stones to where they are now, but it's just like, you know, there's no evidence of like the tools that they use. So it's like right now it's just speculation. You know, we might never know how they brought it up there, but just the fact that they were able to do it, you know, means that it was possible back then. So I'm actually gonna end it on this video that I'm about to show you. It's the title. It's on YouTube. The title of the video is called Machu Picchu 101 by the National Geographic YouTube channel.
And then I'll play it along.
After that, I played against one on it, and then the game after that, I played against a whole team of fucking like Diamond 3 and above. I was like, good fuck.
Machu Picchu, located at the center of this once expansive empire, is one of the few well-preserved remnants of the Inca civilization. Built around the mid-15th century, Machu Picchu is a stunning example of the Inca's engineering feats. The Inca constructed Machu Picchu's palaces, temples, terraces, and infrastructure using stone, and without the help of wheels or tools made of steel or iron. One particularly notable aspect of their construction is foregoing the use of mortar, a material often used to bind stones together. Nonetheless, the stones of Machu Picchu were cut so precisely that they snugly fit together. Located on two fault lines, Machu Picchu often experiences earthquakes, but because of the stone's exceptional cut and fit, they bounce during tremors and then are able to easily fall back into position. These engineering marvels have preserved Machu Picchu's remarkable condition for over 500 years. Machu Picchu's purpose is still a mystery to many archaeologists. Some theorize that it may have served as a ceremonial site, a military stronghold, or a retreat for nobility. The site's geographic layout may be significant in another way. Many of both the man-made and natural structures appear to align with astronomical events. But in the early 16th century, only about 100 years after it was built, Machu Picchu was abandoned. And since the Inca had no written language, no records exist to explain the exact purpose of the site. Although local communities knew about Machu Picchu, the site remained largely unknown to the outside world for hundreds of years. Spanish conquistadors who invaded the Inca civilization in the 16th century never came across the site. It wasn't until the early 20th century when Melchor Arteaga, a local farmer, debuted Machu Picchu to outsiders when he led Yale University professor Hiram Bingham to the site. Bingham and successive explorers devoted much of their academic careers to studying the archaeological wonder. Despite its enigmatic nature, Machu Picchu still stands as one of the world's most important archaeological sites. It is a testament to the power and ingenuity of one of the largest empires in the Americas. In 1983, UNESCO designated Machu Picchu as a World Heritage Site, and today, visitors from around the world come to pay homage to this piece of history.
Literally, like, not even saving me any fucking.
So yeah, man. So
wow, man.
Right? It's like, yeah, it's like just so interesting, you know. Just like, man. So that's, you know, that's like I haven't really like been engulfed in my culture, you know. So like I've learned like little stuff here and there, but it's just like the more I learn about it, it's like, man, you know, it's like it's crazy, you know, so much history and it's rich in culture. So like that's why I have this flag. So I bought this flag. I also bought Mexico flag because, you know, both, like I'm half Mexican, half Peruvian, and both cultures like are so rich in history and culture and stuff like that. You know, I want to learn more and like dive into it and like be enriched in that culture so I can pass it on to my kids. You know, it's just like, you know, because like I said, like I was raised more like in Mexican culture just because like, you know, my parents, my dad's side of the family live in the States, so you know I was more engulfed in Mexican culture. But it's just like, you know, learning Peruvian culture is just like, it just opens a whole new world like the other people don't really have access to, you know, just like I do. So I thought it was pretty cool. That's why I wanted to do that for like, you know, the talk today, so I can introduce you guys to my culture too, so you guys can see like, you know, wow, it's like so many cool things about it.
Sweet.
So yeah, so that was my Peruvian culture. Like I said before, definitely got more into my culture, and if you guys want to try it out, definitely recommend it. Different restaurants out there, you know, different stuff you can try, and it's it'll definitely be different. You know, it's always good to try different cultures. So now I'm gonna hand it off to Juan over here, our you know, our guest, but also he's our new permanent person.
New permanent person.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, there was actually one thing that stood out from where my parents are from. So I'm actually born here in the States, in the U.S. I was born in Riverside, Southern California. My family, both my dad and my mom, came from the state of Michoacan in Mexico, which is like nowadays I make fun of it because I'll like people don't know where Michoacan is, so I'll just say, oh, it's the Mexican version of Michigan. You know, and honestly, it's about the same distance. You know, flight time is roughly the same, about 5 hours or so from I think John Wayne Airport, like San Diego, down to Michoacan, where we go to. So for me, like my friends, both of you guys both know that like I've been a big aficionado of like alcohol up until current events. You know, I wanted to try all sorts of alcohol, all sorts of wine, all sorts of tequilas, bourbon, whiskey, scotch. Not so much vodka, but just, you know, a little bit of everything. But one day, me and my dad, we were having a little get together, and it's actually pretty cool thing because we've never had like this bonding moment. And like this particular day, it was the day of my birthday, actually, the day after my birthday. And I'm over here curing it. We're just drinking a Modelo, and my dad comes over, and he was a little bit hungover too. So I gave him a drink, and we started chatting. So he tells me a story. He tells me a story of when he was a kid, when he was a child. So my dad actually came to the U.S. when he was 10. He was the oldest of like 10 brothers, actually. 10 brothers and sisters. God, dude, 4 brothers and five sisters. Well, anyways, he tells me the story that when he was still in Michoacan, he must have been maybe like 9 or 10, just maybe like a year before he came out this way. He actually had to go over to the next town over, and he was on a horse. And they were bringing over like some stuff for like the town or something. I think it was like food or wood. Well, anyways, the town that he was supposed to go to, it was just himself, the horse, and whatever the horse was carrying, like fire or whatever, like firewood. Anyways, he goes over to this town, and in this town, he tells me that there's this old man, and his old man told him and said, "Hey, you know, you seem like you've been working so hard, you've been working real hard, and you need something to drink." So he hands him like this clear this clear drink, right? It looks like kind of syrup. My dad tells me this. He's like, it's weird because I never knew what it was. And I asked him, well, what was it? He said, well, at that time when he was a kid, he just thought it was like some miracle juice or something. I'm like, why? Well, because when he tried it, it said like it knocked him out. So apparently this one guy gives him this drink, right? He gives him this drink that he got from a plant. So he scooped it up from a plant, pours it onto a cup, and he hands it to my dad. And my dad said he tried it, right? Because he was really thirsty, so he tried it. He says he must have gone maybe 2 or 3 sips, and next thing you know, he said he fell asleep. Well, when he woke up, he said when he woke up, his dad, my grandfather, actually showed up to where he was.
Oh, literally not.
And woke him up.
Like,
Yeah, he woke him up. And my grandfather told him, he said, "Hey, what are you doing on the floor? What were you drinking?" And then my dad says, "Oh, I don't know. That crazy old man over there gave me this drink. He said it was like water, like miracle water." It turns out there's a drink by the name of pulque. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard about it before, but my dad tells me it's a weird taste of like bean syrup and like tequila. And so like, mind you, like we're having this conversation. He tells me, yeah, it was the most disgusting thing I ever had. But when I was a kid, it's like I was so thirsty I didn't really care. And so he tells me the way my grandfather found out that he was there was because when he knocked out, he somehow, I guess he had drank it and he was still riding a horse. And as he was riding away in the horse, he fell off the horse. He fell off the horse, but the horse, because the horse knew the trail, the horse actually went back to town without him. And so he went to the house and like the horse shows up and the horse is there without my dad. And they're like, well, where the hell happened to Jose? So they went out and looked for him. They asked the people, they're like, hey, where did this horse come from? So it just came by. It was like it was running by itself and it just went to your house. So they went and followed him to where he had gone. And sure enough, they found him on the floor all drunk. Well, I did a little bit of research and I found out that this drink, I'm going to have to share my screen, but this drink actually comes from the heart of the maguey plant. And it's actually what's used like in tequilas. Let's see, sorry about the frame rate or something, but so you can see here, this is actually the plant. And what they do is that they carve away at the leaves, and inside here, they actually start digging inside the ends of the plant, and it's like tree sap. So the sap develops and forms, and because people keep on hitting the walls, the plant keeps on secreting like these juices. And so the juices just collects like in this bowl, but it's still inside the plant. And farmers and people are still constantly digging inside the plant to secrete those juices from the plant. So I did a little bit of investigation, and I found that there's actually one town in the city of Michoacan that still produces the original way of making pulque. And like it's the only place. I think there's like another place like in the city of Tequila and Jalisco, I believe is where it's at. That still actually takes back to the roots on how they used to do it, like because it's apparently like it's been around even during the days of the Aztecs. Apparently this drink was used to like on ceremonies when they would do like sacrifices. The high priest would indulge in this drink, and basically because of the sap, it had like yeast and stuff like that, and so like it had like a sour taste to it. So when they would take it, right, they'd go through like this transformation. And so like their body's getting used to it. Obviously, it's probably the effects of the alcohol going into the blood system. But they would go into like this period of transformation. And then when they would awake, right, they're in this new state of mind, new state of thinking. And supposedly this was one of the things that they also used to like have a higher connection with God or like celestial beings. And it's really interesting how this comes back from like just roughly before like the Aztecs or so, and it kind of carried over into like what people knew as pulque. It's weird because I've actually tried the best that I could to try this here in the States, and I guess here in the States the way they do it, it's manufactured, so it'll never have the same taste. Like it looks more watery. and they blend it in with like water and stuff. But my dad would always tell me that like the true pulque has a really disgusting taste to it. And there's actually stories where to get the pulque to hit you hard enough, they would actually use human shit. Like literally, it sounds disgusting. Trust me, it did sound disgusting when he told me that. But it didn't get any more pure than that. So like I looked it up on the internet, and sure enough, it's the rumor has it that really good pulque has bits of human shit. They won't throw a huge amount of it, but they'll put it just enough to like let the sap ferment. Yeah, and actually, you know, you believe it or not, even though it's still exposed, you know, like flies come over, and I guess it has this really foul smell. So like a bunch of insects will come, and like they'll get trapped on the sides, like the rim. Think of like a margarita, and so like they'll get trapped around the plant. And even though those insects are trapped inside, like on the edges, the pulque actually absorbs I don't know if it's their decreting bodies or something, but it just adds more flavor to the pulque. And then when they pull it out, you can drink it from the plant, but when you drink it from the plant, it's going to be really syrupy from what I've read and from what I was told from my dad. So what they do is that they actually will take it out into like these jars, like ceramic jars, and then they will actually process it. They'll try to clean it as best as they can to make it from like a syrup to a more liquid, more tasteful drink, and then they would pass it to the people. But the effects of this is really, I guess the best way I can kind of compare this is kind of like moonshine, you know, but it's just, I've tried moonshine before, and I have gone blind, but I'm still kind of curious. So if any of you guys ever had pulque, like it'd be nice to like hear you guys' thoughts on this, because when I was doing this research, way back then, I found that the closest town in Michoacan that has it is probably closer to the Gulf of Mexico. So from where we are, it's probably about a good 10-hour drive to the east, northeast. And I mean, the little town, I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? It's in the middle of nowhere, but it's known for having this drink. And actually, there's actually Yelp reviews on it. People from from the U.S. have gone down to that town only for that drink, because it's the only one that still does it by the original way of doing it. You know, obviously, once you get past the whole thing of like human shit in there, again, that was just rumor, so I don't know, but that's what they say. It's just to give it more fermentation or taste. I don't know what the hell is. But yeah, people have gone down there and they've tried it, and apparently it's good. I mean, it's good on Yelp, you know. And let me see if I can find it. But yeah, that was just something that was actually pretty interesting for me. Like didn't really think there was gonna be like such a big significance of the drink. I just assumed it was like tequila. You know, I mean, everybody, I guess we've all gotten used to like drinks, like, you know, vodka, scotch, and stuff like that. And sure, it's like Kentucky bourbon, for instance, or Kentucky whiskey. You know, everybody knows the story behind that. You know, like how it's done and aged in barrels, and mostly, you know, Kentucky has a lot of like this really good crops that it's used to make this whiskey. But I'm just surprised how like that pulque is only, I don't know if it could be native to Latin America, but I know it's something that comes up a lot like in Mexico, at least in the state of Michoacan. I'm sure like other states have different variations to it, but for the most part, that's how they do it. They get it from the heart of the maguey, and they'll never let the plant like kill itself. They'll keep hitting the edges of the plant just to secrete that sap. And that's what like makes you really, well, puts you in a good state of mind. Let's just put it that way. So that's what I thought was pretty interesting. So I don't know if you guys ever had that before or are kind of curious to try that. I'm actually kind of curious to try it myself. The fact that it's a little bit syrupy and the fact that it might have a little bit of human shit, fucking man, I'm all down for it. I'm down to try a new experience.
I'm not sure about that last part there, that extra ingredient. But I'm down to try it, except for that extra ingredient.
I mean,
I don't know, man.
I'm down to try even with the human shit. Hey, if it's more authentic and like, you know, obviously they put it there for a reason. So like, hey, you know, might as well try it.
It's a tourist trap. That's why they put it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna bring us more closer to our ancestors, might as well, you know. again, like
exactly.
I mean, I guess it comes down to like food, like what you were talking about food earlier. You know how like for me, I never would have thought, I never would have guessed that ceviche would have been like a Peruvian dish, or like the origins has ties to Peru. I never would have ever thought that. I honestly would have like thought it came from like somewhere in Mexico. But the fact of the matter is, it seems like a lot of Latin Americans, well, a lot of Latin America natives, well, like the Incas and the Aztecs and maybe like Mayans or so, or indigenous people whatsoever. Like it seems like they have a lot of common dishes. I'm not quite sure about the pulque though, but I wouldn't be surprised if like Peru, for instance, has something along the lines of that, you know, or maybe elsewhere as well. Who knows? You know, it just seems like people by nature are curious, and you know, curiosity brings a lot of creative things out of people. So that's my little show. So yeah.
Definitely interesting. Yeah,
that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I definitely learned something new there. That's pretty cool. Yeah, like I mean, it's something like I never would have thought of, you know, adding human feces, you know, to something kind of like
right.
enhance something. So that's pretty interesting, you know. And
well, I'm actually kind of curious how like this whole thing came about over a drunk story with my pops. You know, when he told me how this all played out, he's like, I've never gotten so drunk before in my life. I mean, mind you, we would drink beer all the time. We had Modelo and Corona, and you know, I was used to drinking at the age of 10. You know, because when like where they were from, like obviously at 10 years old, like even before then, you're already starting to do like activities around the house or activities around to like feed your family. And so, you know, he told me this story. He's like, I've never had a disgusting drink like that before in my life, but if you want to get drunk, that's one way to get drunk. And yeah, man. So when I looked this up, I'm telling you, this is kind of weird. And you look it up to this day, and like to find really true, authentic pulque, you really have to go out of your way to try to get that drink, because it's not something that not just anybody can make, you know. Because for one, you need a maguey plant, and then you have to get like a really authentic one. And the city of Tequila, for instance, they're known for like having cultivating the maguey and like the agave plants, and being able to actually make like really good tequilas. And then I've never been there, but I've heard that they have really good like caves where there's like a natural springs where it's like actually really hot. So they take these plants down into these caves, and they actually they let them secrete these oils or sap, and they use that as well to actually try to get the tequila blanco, tequila añejo, y reposado, you know. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. And I mean, of course, I have to put that out there. You know, we don't condone underage drinking, and we don't condone, you know, putting human feces in a certain drink. You know, leave it to the professionals. Of course,
we gotta have that little disclaimer notice in the bottom.
Yeah, you know, of course, because you never know, you know. So, but yeah, just like I said, we don't condone underage drinking, and leave, you know, putting human feces to the professionals. But yeah, that was pretty cool, man. Yeah, and also another thing too, that plant too. Like when you showed us the picture of it, like there was an actual like person, like, you know, looking into the plant. That plant's pretty big. Like when you were talking about the plant, I was imagining like, you know, a smaller plant, and just seeing that picture, I was like, oh man, this plant's like pretty huge.
Yeah, no, it's pretty huge. Let me see if I can find another one. But there, you can see this guy. Look, let me go back in reverse so you can see it. Right here, boom. You can see this guy, like. Oh, you can't really see it. Yeah,
I'm really curious who was like the first person to think we should, you know what? Let's just like open these plants up real quick and see what's inside.
Yeah, so you can see like the donkey right there, and you can see him like standing right next to the plant. Hell, even the people here walking really see it, but the plant's freaking huge. It's like the size of a cactus, or what do you call it, a cacti or something? Yeah, see. And so they grow hella big.
Yeah, man, that thing's like huge. Like it's crazy to imagine like these plants. Like Raul was saying, yeah, like just like you had these people, you know, like they're like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me try it. It's like, it's crazy. It kind of brings me back to like how like the first people tried cow milk, because you know cow milk is just from a cow that's pregnant, you know, and like it produces milk for its calf. It's just like you have to think about like this ancient human kind of thought about like, you know, hey, this calf is drinking this milk. Let me go try it. You know, so I imagine I imagine this person just kind of like, you know, sucking on a cow udder. So it's just crazy how curiosity of, you know, just humans just like, you know, kind of introduces like, you know, all these new things.
Oh yeah, definitely. So this is just like a little map that I'm going to show you guys. But basically, my mom is from here, from Zacapo. This is Zacapo del Campo in the state of Michoacan. And then my dad, believe it or not, they actually met here in Riverside. But my dad actually grew up here in Juanico de Morales. It's a little town. But you can see how close they are, like Zacapo and Juanico. Well, that's pretty far, but relatively, I mean, the whole state of Mexico, you can have one like in, say, Tijuana, and the other one being like South Mexico, but they're fairly close by proximity, Juanico de Morales and Zacapo. Well, anyway, so that's where my dad's from here. He actually went on the horse all the way to Quetzal, and this is where that place is where they make the pulque. It's the only place, as far as that I can read up and do some research, that actually is still native to like the pulque. And so when he came out here to Quetzal, he came out this way somewhere for whatever reason, and or maybe not even over here. I'm not even gonna lie. I remember he said somewhere around the area, in the Paragua or something like that is where he was. But this is the only location that I've been able to find in like the state of Quetzal, or the city of Quetzal, where they have it. Here we go, Agustín del Pulque. Yeah. But this is the only place that I've seen that still actually is true to its roots.
And so, like, how far is like the places where your mom and dad like grew up? How far is that from actual Tijuana? If you can show us on that map.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll zoom out, but this is a couple. Let me see if I could drop like a person, so you just see just for like perspective. We'll do a couple. Okay. So let me see. I'll just click this way. Boom. All right, so this is a couple right here. Let me see if I can drop a guy right there. Boom. All right, cool. Sweet. I'll zoom out. All right, so this is a couple. You zoom out. All right, keep zooming out. So this is Morelia right here. This is one of the major cities in the state of Michoacan. Michoacan is like central Mexico. And so Tijuana is way up here. Boom. So like we're from like literally like half of Mexico. We're like in the central region. Because then you're down here, you got like South Mexico, but we grew up here in Southern California, and Tijuana is like down here. Boom. So which is why I go back to what I was saying earlier. Like my parents both met each other here in Riverside, but they both came from the state of Michoacan, and relative to each other, you know, it's still far, but at least it's close by. Her being from Zacapo, and then my father being from Juanico de Morales, which is right here. Boom. Juanico de Morales, Zacapo.
And have you visited both places before? Like you've gone out there like recently, or like just throughout your whole life?
So I've been there before. Yeah, I've been there to both Zacapo and Juanico de Morales. Let me see if Google can. So this is Juanico de Morales. Let's see what some Google photos come up with. But like Michoacan, for instance, at least Juanico de Morales, every year between the dates of February 1st to February 5th, we do a celebration, what's known as Las Fiestas de la Candelaria, which is like a period where we gather the saint, the Virgin Mary, because like at least I was raised in a more Roman Catholic environment,
and most of Mexico is Roman Catholic. I'm not sure if statistics have changed that, and Mexico starting to change like their national religion, or like just the amount of people that have the religious beliefs. But at least for this particular period, for instance, we do jaripeos, which is where like guys, people, even children actually will mount like bulls, and they'll ride out, and basically in celebration of the Virgin Mary gathering with her friends. And so like in Mexico, or just like anywhere, we have saints. We have a lot of saints, um, and like in Mexico, for instance, in the way that I was growing up, there's been a lot of apparitions of the Virgin Mary. So there's La Virgen, like, excuse me for talking in Spanish, but that's just how I know them. Está La Virgen de la Salud, which is like the Virgin Mary of good health. And then like her, for instance, she's known for excuse me, she's known for like curing the sick. And so like they'll gather like different virgins into this town, and basically like for 1 week they're all together, like partying. Basically they're all together. Like the more religious people are there for like to worship the Virgin Marys and do prayers, but the crazy people like myself, my dad, and like half the town will go off and party and drink, and they'll have like bandas playing. And so yeah, and actually Juanico de Morales, where my dad's from, that's one of the last remaining cities in Michoacan where bull riding is still allowed. Just because the rest of Mexico and the rest of Michoacan have taken a big step in trying to stop what they call animal cruelty. But their argument is, which I 100% agree with them, is the fact that these are traditional fiestas, traditional parties that were done back in the day of their parents, and obviously like Mexicans, well, at least Mexicans, Juaniqueo, natives there, they have a lot more roots to they have more ties to their roots. They're more proud of where they come from, and they really don't want to change their ways. They come from like the world of the machista, where like the men are the hard workers, the women are the stay-at-home mothers, and they take care of the kids, they do the cooking, the cleaning, and they basically pamper to the man's needs. So there's a lot of things that goes both ways, a lot of things that could change, but because of how a lot of them are grown, they still have like ties to their roots. So the machismo still kind of rules in this town. But other than that, I mean, that's where my dad's from. Actually, there's one thing that I wanted to bring up. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but there's actually a place. So this is Juaniqueo, right? There's a place down here that's called Pacharro. And basically here, I've always actually wanted to go check this place out. It's a town where they have a massive guitar. And like they actually changed this structure right here. They decorated after the movie Coco. They put in the white guitar. Essentially,
Coco.
this little town, yeah, this little town is known for guitars. They're actually the only town that actually produces like high quality guitars and guitar instruments, and they actually sell these guitars to some of the local areas. One of them being in Pátzcuaro, which is like a lake here off to the side here in Quiroga. So when I was a kid, my uncle used to tell me that Quiroga was like the place. It was like a plate of trade. So a lot of the locals around the area, like Zacapo, Morelia, they would get together there, and they would sell like goods from around the area, kind of like swap meets. So like every other weekend they would tee off. So one would be in Quiroga, one would be in Morelia, one would be in Pátzcuaro, and but that town I was telling you about, Pachura, I believe, Pacharo. My grandmother, about maybe 10 years ago or so, she went to the city of Quiroga, and she actually brought me back a guitar. I was just messing around when I told her about that, but she actually came back and brought me a guitar. And because of her, I got inspired to like pick up another guitar. So I actually have 6 guitars lying around.
even the one back there. And then I got another 3 in the closet, and then amplifiers and music. And because of her bringing me that one guitar from Mexico, it kind of brought up a lot of like my interest in music. And then just like in general, like when I was in middle school, even in grade school, I picked up the trumpet, and like I just always had like a thing for music, you know. But this is one of the places that I also would like to like check out one day, just because it has that monument for like the traditional folk music, and like just like get to know like the culture in the area. And just like anywhere else, like actually every little town has their own different niche. So like for instance, like Zacapo, believe it or not, it actually translates to lugar de piedra, which is like nothing but rocks. It's like the land of rocks, which is why like my mom actually gets mad when people say that. Yeah, because around the surrounding area, there's nothing but just rocks and like volcanic activity. Oh, there was volcanic activity at some point, you know, but that's just how they know it. It's really enriched with like the Roman Catholic Church. You know, there's a lot of history behind that. Obviously, you can kind of see just by the pictures that Mexico, at least this area, also has adopted like some like French structure. I don't know what you want to call it, like architecture or like influence or Spaniard influence.
Yeah, it goes back to the Spaniards. Yep.
You know what I mean? And so Zacapo has a big, massive lake, le llaman La Laguna, and I've actually been on this road here. There's there's a mountain that they call La Montaña de las Dos Cruces, which is a mountain Spanish for the mountain of two crosses. And basically, like on that mountain, it's not only is it like a burial site, but it's also like an area where a lot of the locals will actually go to grow some of their crops. Excuse me for the blank screen; it's kind of loading. But this is La Laguna, so it's just like a big massive lagoon. Back in the day, a big massive lake. I'm sorry, big massive lake. Back in the day, during like when my mom was a little girl, I'm talking about maybe like 1950s, 1960s. Oh, I'm sorry, I take it back. 1970s, 1980s. This lake, they would actually tap into this lake and actually use the water as drinking water for the locals. So you can imagine there's no filtration or nothing. So they'd boil the water, but you know they'd also come susceptible to like diseases, and so a lot of the life expectancy wasn't all that great there. This is something they've added recently in the last 10 years or so. It's a more like paved, more clean plaza where like people get together and gather after church events. So you can see how the church kind of ties into the local community. So local events have ties to the church. You kind of see how like they try to have like that these architects, these special structures. I'm not quite sure what this one is, but this is like the main entrance when people are coming in from like Morelia or Quiroga. It's like the massive structure you see when you go into like Zacapo. And so you see like different like pictures. Like you also have like a statue for like the bikes. Back in the day, obviously, because it's grown to be such a big city now. Back then it was just a little town, but it's grown in massive size. Now it's like people consider it a city. The locals consider it a city. The means of transportation, obviously, there is what they use is bicycles. And so bicycles, believe it or not, it's like a really, what do you call it, a growing industry. Just because they use bicycles for basically everything. I mean, everybody's seen a paletero man, you know. But yeah, so that's just a little niche there for Zacapo, you know. This is a really bad picture, but you can kind of see the cross up there. That's where they would have like the Montaña de los Cruces. Trying to see if I can find something else, but other than that, that's the story of Zacapo. That's the story of the pulque and my interest in Mexico. Like there's a lot of good history, a lot of good stuff that happened there in Zacapo that I like. One thing that I just want to like end with on my segment is this extinct volcano. This is actually located just north, about maybe an hour north drive of Zacapo. This is known as El Ojo del Mar. It translates to the eye of the ocean, the eye of the sea. legend has it that this sea or this lake can actually will swallow you or like will kill you. Like some of the locals believe that they know who's afraid of it and who isn't. Just to wrap this up, like there was a story that my mother told me that when she was a child, her one of her older brothers at the time, he had gone swimming into this lake, and when he went in there, it turns out that this massive volcano doesn't have like a beach or anything. So the moment you step into the water from the edge of this to like the lake, it's just nothing but just darkness. There's no riviera or like there's no area where you can step on and actually be able to walk on the water. So my uncle, they were kids. They swam inside, and he started feeling like something was pulling him down. And my grandfather, actually, my mom's dad, he was an experienced swimmer, and so he went after him, picked him up, or like rescued him, dragged him out of the lake, and then told him, he said, "Hey, you know what? It's time for us to leave and get out." Um, so the locals believe that this is like some like a mysterious lake because it actually changes color with the seasons, and I believe it's the month of like the fall, like the season of fall or so, that the lake actually changes color from like blue green to like a red or dark red. And some of the locals actually try not to even go to this lake around that time because they feel like there's actually a presence that attracts people to that lake and basically will kill them. So with that, I like to end the segment, but that's just something really interesting. And I'll just zoom out just so you guys have like an idea where it stands from Los Espinos, right? Where I was saying Lojo de Mar down to Zacapo. Sorry about that. Zacapo up to Los Espinos. Boom. And this is still located in the state of Michoacan, by the way. So definitely a cool place to check out if you're into like sort of like some of the mysteries, nature's mysteries. But yeah, well, thank you guys.
Yeah, round of applause. That was pretty cool. Yeah, just definitely learned something new from that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I learned a lot of new things there. Especially, I didn't know a lot about Michoacan, but with that information, especially like the little guitar town right there, and it's cool that they actually changed it to the Coco guitar one.
Yeah, no, there's one thing I forgot to mention. I believe like even some of the locals, even like my aunts that still live there, they say that actually when the producers of the movie Coco, before they made the movie, I guess it was like they went out on vacation or something down to Mexico to Michoacan. And one of the things that Michoacan is also known for is a huge exporter of avocados. The local terrain gives like enough there's so much water, humidity, and stuff like that that it allows for like the growth of avocados there. And so they went down there on vacation. These two guys from Disney, they go down to Mexico and they come across this old lady, and they know her as like she starts telling them the story. I guess they fell in love with her. And what they did was they basically wrote a movie of her, which is like the movie that we know now. So I know I'm kind of like I'm supposed to wrap it up, but they're actually basing it off the real Mama Coco. So let me just change that real quick. Sorry about this, but that's the person that supposedly Mama Coco interprets, and you can kind of see the resemblance. And so the idea was that the two producers fell in love with her, and I guess just I don't know what she was doing, but the locals there in Michoacan actually go out there and visit her just because she resembles a lot like Mama Coco in the movie Coco from Disney. So that was pretty cool. And with that, I'll end it, but it's pretty cool.
I didn't even know that. That's pretty cool. Dang. Like, because when I watched that movie, that was like the first thing that came to my mind when I saw that guitar when you first showed it. And it's cool. Yeah. That's where it has its roots from. So that's pretty cool. Like it kind of like gives you like a different view of that movie. Like, if they actually like did the research and kind of like, it's based off something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, what I thought was kind of curious was just the fact that the locals, like a lot of people there around the area, because when the movie came out, it gained such a huge popularity amongst, the United States and in Mexico. And then, like, I guess more digging was done, and that's when they found out that the locals knew that it was based off of her because the movie resembled a lot of her. Um, and so, like, a lot of the locals there, they changed up. Obviously, when you see yourself or your local community being in a big movie like that, obviously people are going to react. And obviously, since in the area, like in Quiroga and that town where they make the guitars, they saw that as an opportunity to kind of like revamp their image. And so the original guitar was actually painted a yellow color to resemble that, the body of like a guitar. When the movie came out, obviously because they had a celebrity in their backyard, they changed up the guitar, and they changed it to like a yellow to a white color, and they added the pinstripes that the child uses in the movie Coco. So
Yeah, that's definitely cool. Dang, that was definitely something I learned. Definitely learned something new today. Pretty cool. Yeah, and then
I'm just saying. I'm still a big fan of the Lomo Salto. That's going to be on the to do. Yeah, exactly, on the list to do.
And yeah, that's what I think that's like a little bit why we do this. Kind of introduce like each other's cultures, because like even though like all three of us are Mexican, like all three of us, like our parents came from different parts of Mexico, and just like I was saying before, in the United States, you have people living in different parts of the United States, and like that has its own culture to begin with, its own history, like its own things that they do. So it's like we get to see like different parts that we wouldn't have seen otherwise, and so like a lot of people, like all our thousands of viewers that are seeing, get to experience it too, or anything. Even our future kids that see this video, they're gonna be like, oh wow, that's interesting, so like let's say like, and I have my kids, they happen to watch this video for whatever reason, so like kids, go to sleep. I know you're probably watching this late at night. You need to sleep.
Stop making me watch this video.
I know, right? I'll probably be like, hey, so like, watch this video real quick. No, but yeah, so it's definitely pretty cool. Getting to see these different parts of different cultures that, like I said before, you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. So that's pretty cool. So I mean, like so now I'm really interested to see like Raul's side of his Mexican side.
All right, so I'll just jump right into it. Instead of focusing a lot on history, I just decided to focus a little bit more on well, I mean, in a way, it's a little bit of history, but like small little touristic areas in a way, or just interesting places from where my family's from. My dad's from Durango, Mexico. If you want to pull up a slide, let me see if I can share.
Yeah, if you want to pull up a
slide. You know how it is. I'll use the phone.
State of Durango. Isn't that where Duranguense came from?
So yeah, the popularized dance. Although I don't know much about the origin of the dance, it is basically from here, I guess. There's a few funny stories. I know that, like my mom, no, like my dad and his sister, and my aunts, they would tell how to start the dances. Like I'll tell that at a later time. It's kind of funny actually. But
to all of our non-Latin viewers, that's the mating dance.
Essentially, it's a pretty interesting dance form. Of course, every single region has their own little forms of dance, but there's the state of Durango. I mean, it's towards the northern area. It's a pretty big state itself. And here's the actual main city, Durango. This is where I have family, and I go visit them every once in a while, or every year actually. There's a lot of interesting things about this the state itself. For example, one of the interesting places nearby there actually is called. Let me see if I can pull up the map here. It's a small town where they used to film a lot of Western films in the early like the 1900s, like 1900s to early 1960s in a way, I believe. It's a small town called Chupaderos. So you get like a whole bunch of it's the number is around 150 Western films that used to be filmed there. From as in, so in a way they would make it as a. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here, but it's a nice town. I visited before. I'm just trying to look for the link real quick. I have a lot of tabs open. To give you an idea, it's like a lot of little towns. It makes it look like it's all like an actual Western area where they film it. And then if you go in there nowadays, they have a little like festival, do a little show, and they try to show off like of all the older films they used to make. So like Hollywood producers would come down here back in the days before it was all big and film Western movies out here. And it's only I want to say it's like at least an hour away from the main city, a little bit less. It's a nice little area you could walk around and visit. It's not that big of a town. It's just mainly for filming and production, which I find kind of interesting. Another small area that's kind of famous mainly for its urban myths and legends is called the Zona de Silencio in Durango. So it's the myth / legend is that you can't, apparently if you go there, there's no radio signals, your compass doesn't work there, you can't get phone calls, it's like a dead zone essentially. The myth itself is about something with the magnetic poles, or like there's some sort of hole in the atmosphere that's affecting all those radio waves. Although it's mainly a myth, an urban legend, tourism is pretty high there because it's essentially the desert. And one cool little fact is that, little mystery is that there was an actual U.S. missile was supposed to be sent up and hit in New Mexico, and it actually went off distance and ended up landing in that area, which is I found kind of. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. I think it was like over 400 miles away, so I don't know how they messed it up, but it did explode. It did land there, and that's what kind of caused a whole bunch of tourism saying, "Oh, something must have miscalculated it, and in that region they made it land there." I found that kind of fascinating, and I want to go visit it one of these days. Of course, when everything calms down, when the virus calms down, and when it's a little bit more safer around the area. It's if you do a quick Google search, you'll see that there's a little like mystery towards it. I mean, there was even a small segment in like in Ancient Aliens talking about how it's possible that it was affected there, and just a little fun fact there. And then I'll just switch that to another side where my mom's from, is the state of Zacatecas. That's where her family's from. So I show you where Durango's at. It's a decent sized state, at least in my opinion. And just if you go south here, here's Zacatecas. It's not that far from it, but it's a smaller state in comparison, but it's still pretty big and has a lot of history. Just like all over Mexico, there's a lot of actual churches, missions that were built all over in ancient, older ones, and Zacatecas is also full of them. There's one famous one that I like to go visit that we visit almost every year, which is in let me see if I can bring up the link. Platero, Zacatecas. It's a pretty old church that we visit. It's just fascinating because you see like the walls covered in different layers and architectures. It's pretty nice. Let me see if I can pull up a picture here real quick. The architecture, and this place is always full, and every time I would go there with my family, there would always be these groups of musicians traveling from all over the state of Mexico coming in and just doing their own rituals and songs just to celebrate the actual area and its history. It's pretty amazing. I've seen groups of like straight up banda norteña playing there to mariachi style music, and they would all go there and celebrate, and people would with crowds would go there. And of course, there'll be mass in church, and it has like a little own museum to it. It's a pretty nice area, and as I mentioned, it's really full of all these fascinating churches, and this is one of the ones that we visit a lot due to like my grandpa saying thanks to. I mean, he was a pretty not strong, most religious man, but he thinks a lot of his life to like worshiping here. Like at one point he said, if I get fixed from a certain illness, I'll go visit here myself. I'll make a pilgrimage every year. And to his word, every time he could, he would visit this area. It's been pretty nice. Another region that I would visit and I would recommend people heading out to visit is it's called La Cerro de la Bufa. It's in Zacatecas, so the main city. Let me see. It's essentially it's like a little mountain hill area. Why is it famous? It's because it used to be a big battle during the Mexican Revolution in the 1914s, where in order to take over the actual, well, there was a major battle here with thousands of soldiers. It's a pretty interesting area because there's a museum. They have ancient cannons there, and you could see the topography of the area. It was and not only that, they have like what's it called, teleférico. I want to say it's in English. It's one of those cable lines where you go across the city.
Like a zip line or what?
That's the word I'm looking for, a zip line. Here, let me show you the next image of this one. I'm having technical difficulties. But yeah, they have zip. If you do a quick search for Cerro de la Bufa, one of the first images will come out will be the mountain. The next thing will be zip lines that travel across different hills and mountain areas, which is it's fascinating. And one of the, I don't know why I can't switch the camera zoom. But they have statues of the General Pancho Villa there, and it's fascinating when you when you look at museums and then living areas, just like you mentioned earlier with Machu Picchu. It's just areas you can go visit, and the fact that this is actually in the like not in the center, not in the middle of the city, but it's right there. It's distance. You could just go and look at the history and realize that there was massive battles here, and topography is amazing. And what makes it even better is that nearby this Cerro de la Bufa is these mines. And I personally haven't gone to the mines. When I went there, it was kind of late, so the mines were kind of closed. There's these mines called Mina El Eden. You do a quick Google search on that. It's pretty fascinating how awesome these mines are. Let's see if I can show you guys some images of these ones. So Zacatecas is known for a lot of its mines that they're from different minerals that were mined out. And I just find these areas fascinating just to the history itself. Because I'm not sure if you guys know, but if you actually do travel, it's a good idea to visit museums just to learn the history of different areas and regions.
Oh yeah.
No, it's not letting me switch over. Another area that I want to talk about, it's kind of not out of the way, but it's another cultural experience people might want to visit. It's called La Feria de San Marcos. This is in Aguascalientes. This is in a different state, but it's right next to both Durango and Zacatecas, just a little bit further south. And so happens is every April and May, it's just a massive festival that happens all over the city with music, dance, live dancing, and just artists all over from the state of Mexico come and play music. And people have dances to celebrations like folklorico dances to just concerts out in the door. And it's just one thing I would really want to visit, and I would highly encourage people to visit just to the fact it's just like a month-long celebration. I mean, how many people could say that visit? I mean, think of it like people know about Brazil and their celebration. What was it called again for that? It's Carnaval.
Carnaval.
I was gonna say Mardi Gras, but that's New Orleans.
That's New Orleans. So like almost at least some areas have their own regional dances and celebrations. The one famous one here for Zacatecas is the Feria de San Marcos. I know my family highly talks about it a lot because they used to visit there a lot back in the day, and I have cousins who go out there and they said, yeah, every year it's just amazing because there's tourism here, live music, and it's just a beautiful occasion just to go visit out and meet the different type of cultures and groups from all over Mexico that come visit that area. But other than that, That's other than technical difficulties because it's not letting me show you videos. But it's a nice place to visit itself. Each one of these areas, from Aguascalientes, the famous festival of San Marcos, to the little filming town of Chupaderos, Durango, and the mines of Zacatecas. They're all pretty interesting areas to visit one day, and I hope to revisit them and film everything in better definition because I know the videos I took back in the day are all like 240p, hard to see. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me on my end. As you can tell, I highly prepared for this as an expert on my segment. Cuisines, unfortunately, I am not an expert of, so please don't ask any questions regarding cuisines.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, because I can imagine like that region has its own cuisine and stuff like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure because you said you've been there before. You visit every year, so I'm pretty sure you can think of the stuff you've tried out there.
I mean, some of the things I've tried is just like at least one thing I like to go try out there. I'm gonna go to Durango's. Just basic stuff I knew was really good out there. It's like the menu over there doesn't really compare to the ones you can buy out here. Like the soup, it's just I don't know. It's something about it. It's just I don't know how you guys feel about that, but if you buy certain foods in at least over here in the U.S. and you buy it from certain regions, it just doesn't taste the same versus when you go to the source. So from the difference between the tacos to the menu itself, it just doesn't compare. And then one other famous thing I know in Zacatecas is there's a lot of nopales there, and nopales in a way it's a cacti. Cactus, it's a form of cactus, and it's actually pretty good. I wasn't a fan of it at first, but it looks weird. But I don't know about you guys, but it could be mixed in with many different meals. At least that's what I know about cuisine part.
Oh,
so go ahead.
Nopales.
I was gonna say, yeah, nopales. You get the nopales. You clean it up. You put it on the grill, dice it up, turn it into a little nopal salad, or you can sprinkle it on with like frijoles. Oh, with some beans. Oh my god, you guys don't know. You guys just don't know.
Yeah, so I've had nopales not on the grill. It does sound pretty good, but I've had it just cooked, and it's it has a slimy texture to it. But I've had it with a side of rice and chicken. Oh man, it's really good. Oh, definitely it's different because I've never had it any other way, but it's it has its own texture and flavor to it that really complements if you have rice with it and with chicken, fried chicken or just chicken on the grill. It just complements that dish. So it's definitely really good.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you ever get a chance, I would definitely put it on a grill. I'm sure you've had bell peppers diced up and put on a grill. It almost has that same texture to it, but the sliminess, I don't know if the water that comes off of it, just like you're saying, it complements anything else you're having. For me personally, I love it when I'm eating carnitas. We get carnitas, a little bit of frijoles, and you throw some in there. Oh, dude. A little chile habanero, dice that sucker up, put some lemon, some salt. Sorry guys, I needed a second. Hold up.
Yeah, I was saying Juan hasn't eaten, so all this food talk is just I can see his mouth salivating right now.
Oh my god, you guys just don't know, man. Let me take a look at the picture. I'm sure our viewers, somebody out there is probably watching this at 2:00 in the morning. They're kind of starving. I'm gonna make you guys
all the millions of viewers.
No, but you guys just don't know, man. You don't know this. Obviously, pictures look different than the final product. Let me see. It's something like this.
Yeah, it definitely looks good. I mean, for those who haven't tried it, that's definitely that looks good to me. But it's because I've had it before. But yeah, that looks delicious.
I'm telling y'all, it's the bee's knees, guys. It's the bee's knees.
We gotta start our own culinary show. We go around the world and tasting different types of food.
Right. We're gonna be the new Guy Fieri, Fieri, however he says his last name.
Yeah, there's actually a place. I don't know if you guys have ever been to it. It's actually a place in San Bernardino that sells birria. Oh, dude, like it's a small little shop, but trust me, the freaking place, dude, makes some really bomb ass birria, especially birria de chivo.
It's those small shops, man. It's hard to compare against them.
It's always small shops. It's the ones you think it's a hole in the wall, but it's not. I don't know. I don't even know how to translate freaking birria into English, man.
What is a translation for that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a translation.
It's like a beef stew or something. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, because like it's like, I mean, you can translate it, but like you still keep the same name. It's just like you got to show the picture with it, like Juan showing. Yeah. And it's like, and it's hard to describe the flavor too, because like it has its own flavor. You can't like compare it to something else. Like you just have to try it so you can like understand the flavor and like the taste of it.
Yeah, and it's crazy how some cultures have foods that even though they look different, they taste similar. Let me give you a perfect example. I'm sure a lot of you guys have had pho before.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, Ro, you're out. Get out of this conversation. This is funny. So there's there's a dish that I actually got introduced to about a year ago or 2 years ago actually. It's in one of our local restaurants here in Moreno Valley. What's it called, a pho or something like that? It's right off in Alessandro. But anyway, there's a dish there. It's called beef balls or beef. I just know it by number 18. That's all I know it by. But here's the dish. Here's what it looks like. So you got like beef balls in this like soup texture, and then you got like what do they call it? Rice noodles. There's this white thing you add to it. I'm not even quite entirely sure what the hell the name of it is, but there's this white noodle-looking vegetable that you add to this plate, and it just completely changes the flavor to it. But if you were to eat that white piece by itself, it tastes like jicama. I don't know if you guys ever had jicama before. Let me see if I can look it up. I believe it's a fruit. Yeah, it's this jicama. That's all I know about jicama.
Add some lemon.
It's weird because this is a jicama that I know, and it's really hard. It almost tastes like it's almost like the texture of a carrot. But in pho, like wherever that dish comes from, it's softer, it breaks easily, but it has the same taste. And it's just crazy how like even though it's in different regions of the world, it seems like they still have a combined taste. Like for me, even though I like pho just because it reminds me of like menudo or pozole, a lot of like the Spanish dishes, which is why I like them. Even though they look different, they might taste a little bit different. They just have similar textures to it. So.
Yeah, definitely. Because I've had jicama before. Definitely tastes good. Definitely has its own like taste. Like you're saying, it's like the consistency is like a carrot. But there's no other way to describe it. It's just like one of those things where you have to like taste it yourself to kind of like understand like how it tastes like.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Brandon. Only I know the name of that piece. Like I'm telling you, like it's weird because it almost tastes like a stem of like cilantro, but it's not, and it has the taste of jicama, but it's not jicama.
The taste of cilantro, and it has a taste of jicama. I mean,
No, it has a texture of like cilantro, not the leaves, but the stems. It has a texture of that, but it tastes like jicama. Yeah, it's gonna take a while before I find it, but yep, that's.
So I mean, like, you know, so I guess this is where we're kind of gonna end it. So I mean, you know, we introduced our cultures a little bit. You know, hopefully you guys had a little bit enjoyed, you know, different perspectives from Mexican culture, from Raul and Juan, and like the Peruvian culture that I showed. I mean, you know, just and this is just like this is like a small bit of, you know, each culture, because like Mexican culture has like, you know, we have different states in Mexico, so they have like different stuff and varieties of different culture and like foods and stuff like that. Same thing with Peru. Like I gave like a brief overview, but like even in the individual states, you have like different cultures and different foods that are specific to that region. So, you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed the little taste of the cultures that we showed you guys. So yeah, so I mean,
yeah, I think this is a pretty cool segment. I think I'm liking this series, and I think the first time we started this, it was the aliens. Now we started with culture by recommendations of Brandon. I think the next recommendation is going to be coming from Raul. So Raul, right now, what do you think? What's the next topic of this coming week?
Yeah, let's hear it on the spot. First thing that comes to your head. Let's go.
Galactic Legends, Star Wars Hero of the Galaxy. I'm not really sure what we should talk about next week. Something to research well.
I mean, we'll figure it out, and then we'll figure it out, and then you guys will see it in the next episode. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this little series we're having. You know, I get to learn a lot, you know, from stuff that like I would have never like learned on my own. You know, so it's always better like hearing it from like people that like kind of experience that culture. So, you know, so we'll see what we come up with next time. But yeah, I mean, you know, thank you guys for like watching this. It's a long video. So if you guys are still watching us, then, you know, appreciate you. Hope you guys learned a lot. And I don't know, you guys got anything final to say?
Just have an open mind. Have an open mind and be willing to try some pulque every now and then.
It's always a good idea to make a list and learn what other people have to offer. And so you could experience it yourself. For example, I didn't know much about different histories of the culture, for example, Peru, but hey, the more you speak with people, different people, backgrounds too, the better it is for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just like what they were saying, just keep an open mind. You know, try new things, because you know you never know. You might find like something interesting in a different culture, a different food that you know it might end up being your favorite thing. Who knows? You know, that's the beauty about like, you know, humans. You know, we're all different, but at the same time we're the same. And like, you know, as long as you keep an open mind, you'll be able to discover something new about yourself, something new about the world, because there's always something new to learn. But yeah, so thank you guys, and you know, we'll see you next time.